最近おじいちゃんいるから違うけど久しぶりにバイブス上げてこう俺さんできるスイカ
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And today, we're going back, baby. We're going back into Bleach, into the Soul Society Rescue Arc this time. Covering episodes, 42 through 53?
Yes.
Yes, because we're not labeling them in the titles anymore. We're calling them parts, so we can better play to the algorithm. And not scare off new viewers.
The algorithm monster, Boogeyman, has forced our hands. We must give our offerings to the algorithm, which is why we must call them part 1 and 2.
And if you want to give yourself to the algorithm, viewers, go ahead and leave a like, head on down to the comments, let us know what you think of the podcast, and finally subscribe to the channel for more episodes of Castaway Anime and other videos. Now grab a drink, kick back, and listen up, because this might take a while.
Or maybe it won't, because we've been talking about this show.
Because I have to leave for a flight in 5 hours.
Okay, well that's one of the reasons. But yet another reason is that we kinda already know what each other generally thinks about the show, and unless you're throwing a curveball and saying that Bleach is all of a sudden a 10 out of 10, I think it's been around the same answer for both of us, for each podcast for the past, ever since the second episode of this podcast we've done for Bleach.
Well, I you know what, I will throw you a bit of a curveball. It's not a 10. No, I didn't hate it either. I do think this is the best Bleach has been so far.
Crazy. Although honestly,
if we're comparing like block to block that we've covered, I feel like this is the best it's been.
I kinda had a feeling you'd say that, and you know what? I don't disagree. This is probably the one with the least eyebrow raising and like poor shoddy storytelling of all the blocks of episodes we've covered. Like,
yeah, this is a dense block of content.
Well, you see, I was just kind of minding my own business when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this girl just squirted out.
She squirted out?
Yeah, she did this weird bubbly thing.
Bubbly thing.
There is a lot that happens. You know, in a given episode, I've been saying this the entire time, not much per se will happen. Sometimes a lot does happen in one episode, but sometimes, you know, it's just a big old battle. But when you, like, cumulatively, the amount of stuff that happens in a block of episodes will just feel very action-packed.
Yeah, and then here we have, like, bro, going from just episode 42 to episode 53, the only thing that, like, kind of somewhat remains constant is the Ichigo segment, where Ichigo's trying to learn how to activate the Bankai, the Bleach power boost.
Yeah, it was actually surprising how little Ichigo does in this block, and I think it is very much warranted to take a step back from him, because, as we said in the last block, Orihime and Uryu, they didn't necessarily get all the screen time in the world last block, as in basically nothing.
And yeah, there was like a whole block of, I forget if it was the first or the second half of the sneak entry arc where
I think it was the second half.
Yeah, we just didn't see him once.
Yeah, but this time they have an entire bad guy to fight. And
by them, I mean just Uryu.
Well, okay. Yeah. I mean,
so like listen, I don't want to be, you know, too much of a be like, oh, this is the best Bleach has been, and then immediately be like, wait, actually, this part of is like really stinky. What does Orihime do?
Well, you know, I feel like the show is on your side here in a way, in the sense that the author, I forget Tite Kubo. How did I forget his name for even a nanosecond? I feel like Kubo sorta came to that same realization as he was writing it, because it is in the main text of the show now that she's just bad at fighting, And I was waiting for the moment where it would be revealed that, like, okay, they get into the battle, and at first, Orihime is like, I'm gonna be the attacker. I need to make up for the lack of me doing things in the, previous blocks of episodes. I need to have my moment to shine. But she is getting in the way of Ishida's more powerful bow and arrow attacks, and they aren't really communicating with each other and doing all that teamwork biz. Their souls aren't resonating. And so eventually what she realizes is, yo, my power isn't good at doing a whole lot of damage. It is good at support, and this is what I can excel at. And together, using their powers properly, they overtake the foe. And all of a sudden, Orihime realizes that, hey, I'm not useless. I have a role in this team. Each team member needs to be doing their own separate thing so that together we cover all our bases. Anyway, none of that happens, and I just wrote fan fiction for 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, what actually happens is, Orihime, you're literally too useless to even heal or block in this instance, so go get carried off by some rando Soul Reaper guy who will knock you out with a karate chop to the back of the neck.
I did think that scene was fun. The animation she does when she falls unconscious is very funny. But yeah, I completely agree with where you're coming from. It's very lame character writing is how I'd put it. It's just lame that she doesn't get to do much of anything. We've got 4 main characters roaming around doing battles, and 3 of them have had super interesting things go on. And they're fighting and progressing the narrative, and one of them is ostensibly deadweight.
Yeah.
Hey, Bleach just be like that. We're not coming here for the cuisine of writing, the peak of the peak of writing. We're just here for popcorn entertainment. And I maintain that I am grabbing the popcorn. I'm grabbing entire fistfuls of it because I binged this entire block of episodes in one day, and it still didn't feel like enough because we left at a cliffhanger. And I was like, bruh, why? I wanna grab more popcorn, but I am legally disallowed from reaching into the bag more.
Yeah, we'll be back in a few weeks for the second half.
Yeah, we won't have to wait too long.
Yeah, you say that we're not here for the writing, but to counterpoint, we're with Orihime's useless ass being hauled off by the fucking rando. That leaves us with the best Bleach character.
Uryu Ishida.
I think he's the best character, and it's the only one who comes close so far is Kenpachi.
See, I don't think I'm as I guess solely attached to Ishida as you are. I like his character a lot, don't get me wrong, and they haven't completely messed it up. Yeah, but I do like a few more of the characters. I am irrationally attached to Hinamori. Like, I cannot explain it to you.
To Momo?
Yeah, Momo Hinamori.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember them more by their first names in the show.
Probably because you are listening to the dub.
As God intended, as Johnny Young Bosch intended.
But yeah, Hinamori, she at first in the arc is seen as sort of passive and, doesn't really speak up. But then her husbando dies, and she is devastated.
Her man crush.
From that point forward, she has done nothing but be filled with complete rage.
Why couldn't we get why couldn't she be on the team instead of fucking Orihime?
She's honestly a more interesting character than Orihime.
It's not too hard to be a more interesting character than Orihime.
The worst part is I do like Orihime's personality, and I do like what she brings to the table in terms of character dynamic, but in terms of having a stake in the narrative, Hinamori got her cooked, honestly.
Yeah, it sucks because, and once again, I will never forgive Kubo for dangling this perfect pairing of Orihime and Uryu in front of us, only to fucking hand her to Ichigo for no good reason.
Yeah, although I will say, all of the flaws in Orihime's character writing can be forgiven, because she has a new hairstyle, and she should wear it like that every episode from now on.
It is very cute.
It is
will be
very pretty.
You'll be disappointed to learn that she's gonna go back to the regular long hair soon enough.
Yeah, but
if she
here,
hasn't
I can
already.
hold on to the hopium, right? I can just let me keep coping for a while, okay? I need it.
But meanwhile, our base boy Uryu, in order to defend Orihime and the rest of his friends, he's got to take on the biggest bastard that we've seen yet in Captain Mayuri of Squad 12.
So he's just evil. He is like a psychopath.
He's a fucking witch doctor murder man.
The thing is, he's over the top evil, but he sells it extremely well. He sells.
He has
the act.
zero remorse. Everything he does is in the name of science and progress. He and Bondrewd would get along just swimmingly.
They would get along well. Although he's arguably... See, the difference between him and Bondrewd is that Bondrewd was not one for causing over-the-top unnecessary pain and lashing out in rage or whatever. Meanwhile, this guy just has no sympathy whatsoever. No, not even a sick sort of appreciation of his creations. He just does not care. And
will just beat on them, which is based because one of them's a woman.
Yeah, I sent Neon a screen cap of Mayuri punching this woman, and with all caps, my goat!
He is also, he does things in less based ways, like where he the way he's introduced to Orihime and Uryu is when members of Squad 12 come to, lure him into what they think is like a regular trap being sprung by Mayuri, but in actuality, he's turned them all into kamikaze bombers against their will.
Yeah, he just kills a bunch of who are supposed to be his allies. Yeah, not sure how he isn't fired yet, considering he's so willing to do that.
Like, either the Soul Society has like very loosey-goosey rules on what you can do with your own men, but he definitely should be fucking, if Ichimaru is getting like sussed out for the various shit that he's done, Mayuri's gotta he's gotta be put on death row just right next to Rukia.
Maybe he always does it in such a way that he can't get caught. Which, to be fair, he did seem pretty reckless, though. So, I guess he better hope there weren't no witnesses there to report him.
Of course there were no witnesses. He firebombed them all.
Okay, true. Well, hold on. One did survive. Orihime to the rescue for one random goober who would proceed to knock her out. What a way to return the favor.
Yeah, while she's gone, Uryu is taking on Captain Mayuri and showing just how much of a based boy he is. He's matching his power with his Sanrei glove, which he trained for 7 days and 7 nights to make him the strongest Quincy that there ever did was.
Yeah, and another thing that we have sort of skipped over, but that I need to mention because I am irrationally attached to this aspect of the story. The scientific experiment, if you will, that Mayuri has created. This random girl who... okay, so she is that her name?
Yeah.
Memu, you said.
Nemu, Nemu.
Alright. So Nemu is originally, Uryu is like, oh, she's like his, I forget, like,
The lieutenant.
lieutenant. That was the word that was coming to my mind at first, but I wasn't sure. But then, he's like, oh, she's his subordinate. Oh, wait, no. She is, her, what I can only describe as an abused child of sorts, but created by science, where, with Stockholm Syndrome as well, where she is okay, so Uryu and Mayuri are fighting, and then all of a sudden, this girl who was just standing at the sidelines is jumping in, and then Uryu is like, "What do I do?" And then Mayuri is just slashes both of them to the point where there's literally a hole in her lung, and she can barely breathe. And Mayuri is like, "Bitch, you do not talk back to me," and starts like kicking her and beating her up for talking smack.
And base boy Uryu, defender of all women, is like, hey, you can't do that to her. And Mayuri just snaps back with, I literally made her. I can therefore do whatever I want, which it does apply like that in real life too. If parents that abuse their children, they lay claim to it because they made them. You can't argue with that logic.
Can't argue with that logic, sure.
It is bulletproof.
The thing is, her hang-up is so interesting to me. It's like a flash of intrigue, because like what we're presented with is a legitimate abuse victim, which, I mean, hell, that's more interesting of a psychological hang-up than pretty much anything that. Well, what does Orihime have to counter that? This is just going to be the bash Orihime episode. Okay, true, but that's not affecting the plot right now. What does she have right now that counters
nothing?
That? Okay, there we go.
Guilt over letting her attacker guy get hurt, I guess.
Yeah, we need something a bit more compelling than that. And see, I knew from her design that I was huffing the hopium, but there was a part of me that was like, what if we could just have her like a Ganju presence in the series? It ain't happening, obviously. I mean, look at her design, bro. But come on, man, it's right there. You've got something interesting. She could be a part of the main cast for a while. We could see her heal. We could see her like get over her attachment to this evil man. But instead, nah, that doesn't happen, and I was very sad.
Well, it was to be like, we were joking about, the abuse victims and kids, but whereas...
Oh yeah, we were joking about abuse victims. Let's get that on the record, Neon.
Yeah. But, like, she was, in fact, literally made in a lab, so she does have these... they're definitely unhealthy. And Uryu's still like, hey, just because he made you, that doesn't mean he can, push you around like that. But she just is like, nah, I mean, whatever. It's like, whatever. I'm cool with it. I like him.
Yes, and so because she likes him, we should all just listen to that. There's no more intervention to be done, because she's okay with it, guys.
Yeah, it's okay. She just fell down some stairs.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would have been an interesting place to take the story. I would have been down for it.
They do take it into a bit of an interesting place where she does give Uryu the antidote for the Mayuri poison as her way of saying thank you for sparing Mayuri, even though,
yeah,
according to Uryu, he didn't intend to spare him. He just missed his kill shot.
Yeah, so I guess I'll let you continue down the Uryu glove rabbit hole, because I sort of cut you off there.
Yeah, so I'll just take this to gush about the fight as a whole, because I think it's one of the best fights in the show so far. Mayuri's such a sick bastard that he designed his Zanpakuto to shut off the neurons that control a person's limbs without dulling the pain, just so they could, like, feel all of the pain of getting poisoned without the numbing, for maximum sadism because he's a fucking freak show with the sinister design to match.
Yeah, he's very, very sadistic, and like the weapon that comes out of his ear is like legitimate. It legitimately grossed me out at first. I was like,
Yeah, it's like
what
a
the
scythe
fuck is
that connected by like sinew and muscle.
Yeah, it's such
He
a great
uses like
weapon,
a whip.
though.
Yeah, for some reason, like on his hands, like on 9 of his fingers, his nails are like cut. Like half of his nails are just cut all the way short. But then he has the one long, like almost a foot long nail on one of his hands, which like makes no sense other than to perpetuate the aesthetic of him being like a weirdo witch doctor man.
I mean, hey, the design absolutely nails it.
Oh yeah, I think he's one of the coolest designs in the show.
But anyway, to
yeah,
counter the paralyzing poison, Uryu brings out these thousands of little magic threads or whatever, which is a Quincy power from long ago that he wasn't expected to be able to use.
Yeah, it's the I forget what's called. It's like Ronso Tengai or something. I like how they use the Quincy to like have their own little special magic techniques that they use to sort of have their own individual powers, but also kind of replicate and have their own answers to Soul Reaper powers, because he moves incredibly fast too, not unlike the Flash Step that we've just been introduced to, with characters like Byakuya and Yoruichi. And then having the Sanrei glove that allows him to power up his bow, but then removing it comes at a benefit but a cost. Removing the glove will grant him a temporary power boost so great that he'll start absorbing reishi all around him, to the point where, like, everything in the Soul Society is made of reishi, right? So when he takes off the glove, he just starts absorbing pieces of buildings around him to like build his super form. And that's just shonen badassery. That's just rule of cool shit right there. However, this power comes at a cost, because now he's going to lose his Quincy powers. They weren't the most crystal clear on it, because there's no fucking way he's permanently getting depowered this early on in the show. But it seems to me like either he's going to temporarily lose his powers for a while, or he's just gonna be weaker.
Yeah, it's not made especially clear, but it is an interesting proposition. The idea that he needs to take on what is essentially pure evil. And what's even more messed up is that he doesn't even die. So he lost his power to be able to continue living and not die at the hands of an evil, sick bastard. But
yeah, an evil sick bastard that ordered the death of his grandfather.
Yeah, bro, he throws the picture at him of his mutilated grandfather, granted not knowing that it was his, but once he realizes it was Uryu's, he don't care. He could have been anyone's grandfather. He doesn't care.
He's been like, oh man, I thought all the Quincy's were gone. I'd love to dissect like a genuine one. And he's like, oh yeah, by the way, since you're poisoned and incapacitated, I guess I'll tell you about all the other Quincy's that I've, dissected and bisected and trisected and all that shit. Hey, you want to see a picture of the last one that I did? And just see, like, he carried that scene just is canon, that he just carries that picture like with him at all times. Like
I didn't even think about that, but that's all. That is so nasty.
He didn't think he was gonna find the Quincy.
I guess he's just proud of it. He's proud of being a sick bastard.
It makes him even more of a sick bastard.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so he experimented on the Quincy's by bribing Soul Reapers to purposefully show up late to save them when they're in mortal danger from hollows. And after a specific hollow attack that, changed Uryu's outlook on Soul Reapers entirely, we find out that he took his grandfather's body, was experimenting on it, and just basically revealed that he is the reason why Uryu hates Soul Reapers or hated Soul Reapers at one point.
He's basically just all the evil in the Soul Reaper society multiplied by 10.
Yeah, it is insane, and it allows Uryu to once he hears that, it's like, oh, you're gonna wish you hadn't told that to me, Buster. And then he takes off the glove and he powers up to a really fucking badass line where it's like, where after Mayuri calls him a genius for all the different Quincy techniques he's been implementing in the fight, Uryu claps back with, "A genius? Such a generic term doesn't even begin to describe it."
I'm reading back my notes from the episodes we're currently at, and at one point in episode 3, presumably when Uryu's getting all powered up, or something like that. No, it might have been the episode before that or whatever. But I just have written down kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill 17 times. Because I wanted Uryu
bastard.
I wanted him dead.
And Uryu almost pulled it off, even after Mayuri activated his own Bankai to transform his sword into a weird poison baby caterpillar.
Oh yeah, remember at I think it was 2 episodes prior to this in terms of the podcast where you were saying, bro, I want Ishida to be a murderer. I want him to be okay with that. We do kind of get that now. He's okay with it. He doesn't actually kill him, but he does.
At least he tried.
It was not for lack of trying, and just hey, it's the effort that matters. It's the grind set. Someday he will become based murderer Ishida.
Yeah, at one point Mayuri is he has Mayuri on against the wall, and he's like, the only way I'll spare you is if you beg for your life and never show your face around in this town again. And then the wound he gets even after Mayuri activates his Bankai, which we find out is essentially the second level of a Zanpakuto's release, because you get the Shikai, which is the first release, but then the Bankai, where they it looks like they either get a completely new unique ability, or they allow you to summon these upgraded monster forms, kind of like some Digimon digivolving shit.
Yeah, I guess we can get more into the Bankai as a whole from this, because that's really what this block of episodes is about. It's about showing that Bankai is... it's obviously not the only thing that this block of episodes is about, but in terms of combat, it is one of the big things that it is trying to show is a thing. That, Kenpachi, bro is the only one of the captains who doesn't have a Bankai because he just doesn't communicate with his sword at all. And it's yet another way to sort of, in a sense, retcon a way to ratchet up the tension considerably. To say, bro, Kenpachi, he might have been strong, he might have been the strongest, but bro didn't have a Bankai. And you don't want to see a dude with a Bankai, because they're gonna wipe the floor with you. And so...
Yeah, it was a good job to essentially have Mayuri be our introduction to Bankai with his big baby caterpillar monster being like, oh wow, he was already pretty threatening with that sword that shuts down your limbs without making you feel pain. But here comes an affront to God.
That's a good way to put it, bro. When he just says Bankai, I was like, oh snap, things are getting real. Things are absolutely getting real. And Ichigo is currently trying to build up the ability to get a Bankai, and that is the only thing he does in this block of episodes.
Yeah, it is time for Ichigo to re-enter his babe, it's 4 p.m. Time for your training arc. Yes, Kubo.
Yeah, although the training arcs in this show, I mean, even with, spending so many episodes on them, which, by the way, I am very glad about, because to spend so many episodes as a viewer seeing him train does give more of an impression in your head of, oh, he is really working for these powers, as opposed to the usual of, hey, get more powers time. It's like we're giving them away for free, bro. Come while they're still hot. But even with that, it is. I'm still gonna say it. It's a little eyebrow raising how we got the Bankai, right? You gotta train 10 years to even get a Bankai, and then you need to train 10 more years to master it. And Ichigo's like, all right, we gotta do it in 3 days. It's like.
But Ichigo's the special snowflake soul reaper who
It's
gets
not
all
even
the power
in
and
3
the
days,
bitches.
because her execution gets moved up. So I think it only ends up being maybe a little over 2.
Yeah, but in order to activate his Bankai, the manifesting of Bankai is to manifest your sword spirit into the world of the living instead of their own little pocket dimension inside the Zanpakuto, and he must defeat him to unlock his Bankai.
Yeah, so the way the fight works is that there's about 1 billion trillion swords on the ground, and they're all differently shaped, and they represent different parts of his either his heart or his soul, doesn't really matter. They essentially symbolize his flaws as a person. Like, he breaks one sword that he sees it, he's like, oh my god, that looks exactly like my Zanpakuto. But the reason why it looks exactly like his Zanpakuto is because that is his tendency to overly rely on it. And so it breaks instantly, and he's like, bruh. He essentially has to go through all his flaws one by one and slowly come to terms with them, and get rid of them, and eventually strengthen his spirit enough to be able to wield the Zanpakuto while being able to do the Bankai thing. And on paper, I think it is a genius idea to symbolize character development through this fight in such a way. But I don't think the proper groundwork was set in order to have it really hit all the emotional beats it could have, I guess. It is serviceable in its current form, but I feel like it could have been a lot more. I feel like with Ichigo being a more developed and fleshed out character at this part of the story, where here's my I've been saying this over and over again throughout the podcast, but I'm gonna say it again because it's worth reiterating. I don't like how Ichigo's flaws are sort of almost retconned in a sense, where we learn about Ichigo's flaws as soon as he is about to overcome them. When to me, it's more satisfying to see at the beginning of an arc a character behave a certain way, and then it becomes a hindrance throughout, and then eventually we get to the scene of him getting his Bankai, and we see all the swords on the ground. It's like, here's all the flaws we've seen throughout the arc continuously manifesting, and we're going to see Ichigo go through some hardcore introspection right about now. Prepare for some top tier character development. That is the end of my point. Yeah. Is there anything? Well, I guess there are more Bankai that occur as time goes on. Do we want to
Yeah,
get
we
into
get
all
a
those?
yeah, I'm trying to remember all the different Bankai that we see. We
There's
see
the little silver-haired kid. He has a big ol' ice dragon that he
oh yeah,
swooshes
Hisugaya.
around. And Renji is badass as fuck. I need to say his is my favorite so far because he got
It
this
does go
bone
hard.
dragon. It is very cool looking.
It's like a bone snake dragon.
Yeah, it is cool as hell, and he can like because the entire gimmick of his sword is that it like sort of breaks into different vertebrae, I guess is how I would put it, that resemble vertebrae. And so this giant snake he can also disassemble in a sense. And so there's one part where Byakuya, who does fight Renji near the end of this block, has all his little thousand bits of sword uh, begin to hone in on the snake dragon. He just undoes all his joints because Byakuya was aiming for the parts in between the vertebrae. He just unhinges them. He's like, bro, you ain't touching me. No, like I can just do this. It's worthless. Your attack ain't gonna work. It ain't even gonna touch me.
Yeah, we've got oh, what else is there? I forget his name.
There's
I want to say
the-
Tosin, the masked dude who makes you blind and deaf with
Yeah.
his Bankai.
So his Bankai is not as badass as the rest, but it's a very interesting concept that made the fight really fun, where he's blind, and so his Bankai, an extension of that in a sense, is to blind and deafen the person who you are fighting. And oh, and I think it also gets rid of their sense of smell. So you have lost 3 of your senses. All you have is feel and taste. And what good is taste in a sword fight? So you really only have
Taste
feel.
the blood.
Yeah, you're probably gonna be tasting your own blood at that rate. And I love the concept of it because, throughout all the sword fighting and whatnot, it's nice to have a change of pace where the attack is, not just big man swing big sword, but rather, something unique, kind of like Ganju running away from his opponent as opposed to trying to fight it.
Yeah, and with all these new powers, it lends to different, means of strategy, and hopefully Ichigo will start implementing some of that as well instead of falling back on the tried and true. Oh no, I'm getting my ass beat. It's either time to pull out a power boost out of my ass or and immediately enter a training arc for the nth time.
Well, see, I don't mind the training arcs. Like, I think they're executed not ideally, but I like the idea of a character constantly needing to go back and train a little bit more. I think the execution just hasn't been there throughout the show so far. And
It also doesn't really
admittedly-
lend itself to, interesting or creative battles for Ichigo, because I can't remember the last time we've seen Ichigo employ a strategy in a fight outside of hit the hardest with my biggest sword.
Yeah. Although to be fair, I'm won over by the cool man swing big sword. That is the appeal of Bleach that I have reiterated over and over again, and I will keep on saying it. There was something I was going. Oh yeah. Uh, Now that we've had the Renji versus Byakuya fight, where it's established that you need to not only train 10 years to get a Bankai, but train 10 years to master it. Because the way it works is that Bankai are very big, and your spiritual pressure is not really allocated through it very well. It's very thinly dispersed. And so it does have that weakness, and in order to build that up, you must train with it in order to get enough spiritual energy to be able to patch those holes in your defense. And so if Ichigo is coming out here with the biggest Bankai and he masters that shit in 3 days again, my eyebrow, which is already pretty much off my face from how high it's raised, it's gonna be hitting that ceiling, man. I'm gonna be a little disappointed if that ends up being the case. But somehow, I feel like it will be.
We can only hope.
Hey, I'm huffing the hopium still. The hopium and the copium. That's the name of the game when it comes to being a Bleach fan.
I suppose there are really two talking points left to really dive into, which is the Hitsugaya, Momo, and Ichimaru ordeal, and the fallout immediately after that with I can't believe I forget. You have to refresh my memory. Who was involved post Ichimaru fighting Hitsugaya?
Alright, so post Gin Ichimaru fighting Hitsugaya, it's mostly about Kenpachi and co trying to fight Ichigo again. And they're like looking for him. That's what a lot of the fights in the episodes revolve around. We also got Renji and Byakuya, and Rukia nearly meeting her end.
Oh yeah, Rukia's getting fucked up. Rukia's not having a good time. She's having a bad time in this block.
Yeah, so something I find interesting about this block of episodes is that our heroes, 4 of them are like in prison for a substantial amount of the block. So
Just like my friends in real life.
just like me for real.
And one day I will join them.
But yeah, so at the beginning of the arc, we got Chad in prison. He's not so Chad anymore. He's become the beta cuck, and he's in prison. Orihime, when she gets thrown to the random goober, the goober takes her to prison, and then Ishida eventually ends up in prison as well because, oh god, this moment is so cool. I just remembered how cool it is, where Ishida, after going through the fight of a lifetime that we spent the first nearly half the podcast talking about, yeah, he meets this other dude who just instantly is like, yo, I don't have any hard feelings against you, man. But I mean, I kind of have a job to
I'm
do.
gonna Helen Keller you now.
approve of
No
that.
hard feelings.
Yeah. And so, so Ishida gets sent to prison. Everyone is just committing all the crimes and ending up in prison.
They're evading all of the taxes.
And Kenpachi, based Kenpachi, accidentally starts a prison break. Which also in this block of episodes, there is a larger emphasis on the fact that Ichigo and Ko are not the only ones who want Rukia out of prison, or like want her to not die, and who want to bust her out and not have the bad thing happen. Because there always was a resistance of some sort, since, there's a conspiracy going on. But here, it's like to the point where Kenpachi just, he's not actively gunning to get Rukia killed, but he just doesn't care, bro. He's gonna disobey all the orders. All he cares about is fighting Ichigo again. And so, if it means busting all the
big furry ass
Ryokins out of prison, I think that's what they're called, Ryokins. Ryoka. I was close. If it means busting all the Ryoka out of prison, he don't care. He just doesn't give a shit anymore. And there's a bunch, and he and a bunch of his bros are like, there's infighting now of Soul Reapers fighting Soul Reapers, and the silver-haired dude who the name of and I don't, he is
Ukitake?
he's like, probably, and he's determined to get Rukia out of prison and into the safe arms of not about to get killed. That was
was that him or is that Izuru?
I mean, I don't know these characters' names. You have to describe their appearance. Who the fuck is Izuru?
He's like the blonde guy with the blue eyes.
Blonde guy with
hanging
the blue
around
eyes.
with Ichimaru.
As far as I can tell, he's just kind of there.
I suppose. Yeah, he hasn't really done anything It's huge in the story right now.
Yeah, so Silverhair really wants Ichimaru to pay, and at this point, Ichimaru has made an attempt on Hinamori's life with witnesses, and everyone's at this point just pretty much certain that he's the culprit. Granted, most people have been certain for a while, but once you see him try to kill Hinamori, I mean, the debate becomes a little more simple.
Yeah.
Which, before that attempt on Hinamori's life, Hinamori herself actually. So throughout the arc so far, we've had this Chekhov's gun of a letter that Aizen wrote right before he died, and Hinamori's like, "Oh my god, this is the biggest deal ever." Spoiler alert: it is a red herring. Hinamori reads out that letter. It's like, bro, it's not Ichimaru. It's
We are
fucking
quite literally in the summertime.
yeah. It's Hitsugaya's. He's the killer, and so Hinamori and them fight a little, and Ichimaru has the biggest grin on his face. Which, by the way, Ichimaru's grins are infuriating in the best way possible.
Yeah, like
you
he's such
want
a
to see him
shit-eating
pay.
bastard that you want to see him get fucking knocked down.
Bro, I know we're jumping ahead a bit, but when Ruki is about to get about to get killed, and he's like, I could save you, and Rukia has that small bit of hope, and then he just grins his ass off and says, "Just kidding." Never wanted to smack a fictional character harder in my life.
It's like, lol, got him. It was just a prank, Lamau.
I
And
was just trolling. It was just a social experiment.
in Minecraft. I love how in this moment, he's like, "Hey, Rukia, I know like shit's looking pretty bleak right now, but what if, because no one here could possibly stop me, I bust you out of here." And Rukia this whole time has been like, I'm so worthless. Don't you shed no more blood for me, Ichigo. I'm not worth a single drop." But it's the taunting and the between the taunting and of Ichimaru and the discussion being held by the replica swords. It's Ruki was like, "You know what? I shit's fucked, but I guess that's just gonna be how this cookie crumbles. And so I'll just take my execution on the chin." But when Gin through the deeds of Ichigo and friends and the song is like given the tiniest little glimpse of hope, no matter how faint, and then Kaz just like, "You gotta go, man, you gotta go. This is it." Only to for Ichimaru to be like, Lamau JK, just wanted to see you, have that little glimmer of hope in your eyes for even a fleeting moment before I rip it away from you. And Ruki is like devastated.
The Ichimaru fight is gonna be peak when it happens. I'm telling you right now.
And it can't come soon enough.
Yeah, literally, because she is about to die. It is around the corner. I am telling you. And the red herring that Hinamori gets might not have been entirely a red herring, though, because we now have a possible reason for wanting to execute Rukia, which is to have an excuse to have an execution happen. Any execution, because the weapon used for the execution is obscenely powerful. If someone were
It is
to wield
called
it,
the Sokyoku, and it's said to have the power of millions on Pacto.
yeah, it is meant to kill you as quickly and presumably painlessly as possible. So it is just pure lethality, lethalness, whatever. I don't know the word.
And I imagine used because it would execute any Soul Reaper no matter how
Yeah.
powerful they were, even if they were like a captain probably.
Yeah, you could get Kenpachi there and it'd kill him a dozen times over at least.
So yeah, the plan that Aizen wrote about to Momo is that it was Hitsugaya, man. Hitsugaya is the one who's planning to use the Sokyoku on the day of Rukia's execution because that power is so strong it could even fuck over not just the Seirete but the entirety of the Soul Society if you wanted to.
Well, sounds kind of dangerous to have around. Maybe we should start petitioning for not having people killed with that thing. Maybe we should just like throw it in the burn pit.
Shh, give it like a few hundred years before the Avatar timeline catches up to that part of the Korra timeline.
But anyway, I guess this is a random topic. How much of episode 46 did you watch?
I watched all of it because
You watched all
you
of
said it was gonna be recap stuff, and I was just like, oh, okay,
I did not say it was
stuff we
going
don't
to be
need
recap. I said it was going to be filler.
It wasn't filler though.
It was filler.
It
literally
gives us backstory of Renji and Isuru and Momo.
It literally doesn't affect anything.
It gives us a deeper appreciation for their backstory.
I thought it was boring as fuck.
It was definitely the worst episode of the block.
I genuinely sped it up, and that's the first time I've sped up anything from Bleach. Because
goddamn,
it's Bleach has done one good slice of lifey, not necessarily action-packed episode before, and that was a canon one. This one, when it's not canon, it completely kills the pacing. You want to see these more interesting plot lines go forward. And this is, by the way, a mixed canon filler episode. This entire backstory, if I had to guess, I'd say almost none of it is in the manga. Maybe a few flashes of it, because they have an entire side quest where they beat this hollow, which is exactly what happened in the last filler episode, by the way, where they just beat some random hollow. Oh, I guess all these filler episodes, I presume, are just hollow of the week, which is boring. It's like, I don't care. It's difficult to make a hollow a compelling threat within a single episode, because they are, you can't really set up much of a backstory behind them, much intrigue, and fighting humans is just inherently more interesting. So when you have this big old plot line of humans fighting other humans, and tons of interesting stakes, villains, all of that sort of stuff, and then you go to random hollow number 678. It's like, but I don't care. And furthermore, I don't really care about seeing these people's backstory all that much. Like, yeah, maybe if you I mean, okay, sure. I do care about Rukia and Renji and all those characters, but I don't necessarily care about what I don't necessarily care about seeing random flashes of their childhood, I guess, if that makes sense. And granted, I'm someone who generally doesn't like flashback episodes because I think they kill the pacing as a concept, but sometimes you do need them, and sometimes I come out thinking, wow, that was a masterpiece. But for this one, it's just like, I don't want to see their childhood, especially not right now. And if you are going to show their, them back in ye olden days, have like a more interesting thing to show.
Yeah, like, are you saying put it like earlier in the chronological events of this block?
Yeah, well, yeah, that would definitely help out. And if you are going to put it there, make it feel more relevant. Because right now it feels like, hey, here's the only way it would influence the plot in its current state is if you're like, okay, it deepens my investment in the characters, so now going back into the plot, I am more invested than I am before. Because no actual plot was really conveyed that episode, aside from the bits of Hinamori in her cell. Everything outside of that was just, here's a story from their childhood. Have fun. It doesn't have any bearing on what we're doing right now. It just is now. It just exists. We are telling you that it happened. And I'm like, okay, why though? I don't care. And it wouldn't feel like such a buzzkill if it were earlier, so I do agree there. But even if it were earlier, you'd need a more interesting story.
What you say we needed a more interesting story, but that's not the only, Shinigami school flashback that we get this episode. We also get to see a flashback between Rukia and her old, what was it, lieutenant at the time?
Some kind of higher up. I mix
Yeah,
up the lieutenant and captains all the time. Oh, I think he was the lieutenant and his wife was the captain.
I thought Ukitake was the captain.
Ukitake, who the fuck is Uki? I don't remember names.
The long white-haired dude who coughs up blood.
I think he became the captain. I don't actually remember.
listen to me. I'm the captain now.
We're all captains deep down. Maybe it was the captains we made along the way that was the real friendship.
And so with that, Rukia has a flashback to Kaien Shiba, who we've heard of before, being related to Ganju and Kukaku. And we see that he looks curiously similar to Ichigo.
I did notice that. I wasn't sure if it was just a design quirk or if maybe there's something going on there.
I feel like there has to be something going on.
It is very uncanny, I will say.
Otherwise, there's no way he'd do 2 wrestling shows at once in a week, whereas Monday Night Raw is like, yeah, no, we can do this.
But anyway, the flashback in question is about how the basically Ganju's brother done got killed by Rukia in a sort of misunderstanding where Ganju's brother's wife got possessed by a hollow who then started killing people. So then Ganju's brother is like, yo, wife, not cool, man. And so he like chases after her. The hollow eats her. And then he's like, I'm gonna avenge my wife's honor. And so
he fucking dies.
Yeah, and Rukia and the Ukitake, I think I remember his name.
Yeah, that's his name.
And so Ukitake tells Rukia like, "Yo, this is a fight for honor. Don't get yourself involved." Rukia's like, "What the fuck, bro?" But like, "Bro, I can save him." And Ukitake's like, "Yeah, you can, but honor, my dude." And I do like Rukia saying, "What does basically being like, what the hell, bro? I can save him. What does honor have to do with anything when there's a life on the line?" Because, admittedly, that was my exact thought, word for word.
Well, you know what? You don't mess with another man's wife, and so he was, doing the man thing. And as we established, sometimes the man thing is not the smartest thing.
Yeah, so he done gets got by the hollow, and then Rukia eventually, through a series of events, eventually ends. I think it's like the Ganju's brother's final, bit of autonomy over the hollow's body, or I guess the hollow taking over his body to jump into her sword and kill himself, which is why he in his final moments of autonomy says thank you, which is what Ganju said, and that was the big mystery. Why would he thank her for killing him? And so it was all one giant misunderstanding, bro. You don't need to hate the Soul Reapers, bro. It's just a misunderstanding. Well, kind of. She did kind of still let him die, though. in a way. And it's unclear whether or not, at least at this stage, it's unclear whether or not Rukia feels bad for not saying screw the honor. I'm gonna fight you to the death, or if it's just the general idea of her sword piercing one of her, someone she really respected and looked up to.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's interesting to see the development of Rukia like through these flashbacks, providing more context to her character of being like, we at first we thought she's kind of like the straight-laced serious one who happens to have some goofy moments and goofy quirks about her that bubble up to the surface every now and then. But as it turns out, she just hates herself kind of the whole time.
See, in a sense, I do almost wish that the backstory was more like Ganju sees it, because that would give Rukia's guilt complex and self-hatred some real bite to it. Like, obviously, there's always going to be some level of misunderstanding. You can't just make Rukia a psychopathic murderer. But, I mean, there's still a chance to make it be like, but I didn't, stop him from, like, bro, I could have swooped in and saved him. Maybe we could have some monologues like that. So, I don't know. It is an interesting plot line, though.
And with that, we kind of already covered everything else. I mean, the one thing we haven't gone into too much depth about is the fight between Kenpachi
Renji.
and the two
Oh.
other captains.
So Kenpachi. Well, honestly, I don't think there's even that much to say about it.
No, they just kind of have the big fight.
Yeah, Kenpachi. He ends up, because his reaction time is so quickly. He feels the sword hitting his clothes and then backs off in time. He also never takes off his eye patch, which is canonically sucking away like half his power. So, he's doing it with a big ol' handicap.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a mechanic of his.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Then,
that just about covers the half
well,
of the rescue arc.
I will say one last thing about the Renji versus Byakuya fight, just because I thought it was amazing. Like, I thought it was just really cool, front to back. I think it might be one of my favorite fights in the show. Because this is essentially I think it's like episode 16 of Bleach, way back when Renji gets his ass whooped by Ichigo, and then Byakuya gets basically shown to be the cool man. It's basically that scene, but IMO done infinitely better. Because in the initial scene, I thought Renji just came off as kind of pathetic. Because Ichigo just powered up and then completely whooped his butt. He just served no chance. Bro, Renji has so much will to fight in this battle, and we get more insight into why he lost. Where he has the super powerful Bankai, because he finally gets his Bankai before Ichigo and takes on Byakuya, but it's because he's a newbie at it. Where even though he has this super powerful attack, bro, he's a newbie at it. He can't have Bankai very well, and Ichigo is having even less time with his Bankai. He hasn't even gotten it yet. So it does get the noggin jogging of like, how will Ichigo possibly, he's just as much, if not probably going to be more of a newbie when he meets Byakuya.
Now the real question is, when he gets his Bankai, is he going to get a unique power, or is he going to just swing his sword even harder than before?
Do you know the answer to this? I know you spoil yourself a lot. He's completely silent. He doesn't want to say.
Sorry, I thought there was like another point you wanted to make, but
Oh, I was legitimately asking.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Repeat the question one more time.
Do you know what his Bankai is? Because I know you spoil yourself a lot.
Uh, I think it's just like a power up. I don't think he gains a special like snowflake unique ability like oh I can summon a monster man, or I can turn you into a liquid, or shoot a poison, or make you into a Helen Keller.
No, he has a super duper big sword. The biggest sword of them all. Honestly, that'd be pretty funny. I want him to have a comically large sword. Like,
He just has a plant-sized sword by the end of it.
Yeah, the longer the series goes on, the bigger his sword gets. Where by the end it's just completely disproportionate. He just like flattens his enemy with the sword because it's so big and heavy. I want that version of Bleach.
That we can only imagine and pray for the better version. But
And
in
with
the
that,
meantime, this one that we've had is pretty good.
yeah, so overall thoughts on Bleach thus far. I'm still into it. It was extremely easy to watch all these episodes. They went by in a flash, and I had a lot of fun doing so. Pretty
Went
much the
by in a
same
flash
thoughts as
step.
usual. Yes, very clever. Very clever.
Yeah, these have been some of the best episodes of the show so far. At least like the stuff with the most dense things, the most things happening. We got, Kenpachi might be joining the crew, fighting off the other captains. We got time with best boy Uryu. We got some backstory into Rukia. We got oh god, there's just so much
Just general movement in the plot.
Yeah, it feels like
very much thickening. Oh, we didn't mention the new OP.
Oh, you're right.
It's the best one so far in terms of song.
I have to listen to it a couple more times before I can make that assertion, because as I watched it more and more, because it's Overworld, I'm a big d-tecnolife fan.
I did get more attached to the second OP as it went on, but I also skipped it for the most part while watching these episodes. Whereas,
well, yeah, I started skipping it too, if only to be like, oh, I would listen to it, but I gotta make time.
Yeah, part of it was to make time, but another is just, there's like 25 or 6 episodes with the song. I can't remember exactly, but something around there. And, yeah, you can only hear it so many times. But this seems like one that I might only skip begrudgingly. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and with that, I think we're done with the first half of the...
Done this time.
Yeah, with the rescue arc. So we'll be covering the second half of the Soul Society rescue arc in a few weeks. We got some other shows to cover first. If you liked this podcast, be sure to like the video, head on down to the comments, let us know what you think of Bleach, and let us know what other shows you might want to see us cover on the Castaway Anime Podcast. And I think that'll do it for this episode. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Bleached Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.
Disheveled Rukia. I had to say it there. I had to say it once. All right.